Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of On Air, and I am joined today by the fabulous Liz Fulham, who is the CEO and founder of TAMI, a partner of ours, a client of ours. We're a client of TAMI's as well, so we've got lots of experience working with Liz and her business over the last couple of years as they've gone through early stages and moving towards Series A now. So Liz, firstly, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Christmas is finished, back into a new year, past all the doomsday Monday. So celebrating and looking forward to the year that's coming.
Yeah, and you've got an exciting year ahead, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're in the middle of hiring loads and loads of salespeople and just really kind of going after the global market. So it's very, very exciting. Some really fabulous big companies coming to us these days, but kind of want to help companies as well. And we're here to help and just share any insights we can around how to scale and go global.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking today primarily around the subject of email marketing, because obviously that lends into what TAMI does and how you can help organizations to maximize that. You've got a lot of experience with it. So I'm going to pick your brains and see if we can get out the do's and the don'ts and the what's and the whys and all those sorts of things. And I know that you have a lot of focus on the e-commerce market, so we'll probably pick up bits along the way on that topic. Before we get into topic though, I always like to give our guests 2 minutes at the beginning just to say, who's Liz, who are TAMI? Let people know what you do.
I think the best way to describe me is I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I worked in corporates all my life, like IBM and Microsoft and PayPal and Telefonica. And then I made the insane move to set up the business. And I have to say, it was true encouragement of friends of mine that are like in Virgin Media and Facebook said you should do it. So I'm actually having a ball. Now, TAMI, what is TAMI about? TAMI is about helping companies to identify the target addressable market, giving them intel on how big is their market opportunity, what is their competitors doing, how can they respond to the market and seize the market and own it. So that's essentially TAMI in a nutshell. So we give you market insights, sales leads, and contact data.
Love it, and we'll pick up bits through the conversation, I'm sure, as we go. So let's dive in. So email marketing. I don't know if you feel the same. It does cycles, doesn't it? There are times when lots of people are doing it, and then everybody feels like there's too much traffic, and they dive back off. And I think it's one of those things that is it feels like it's got a low point of entry. So maybe the quality of the way that people do it isn't always right. So maybe a bit of a misunderstood channel at times. What would you say about email marketing when we look at the shouldn't it be a part of a strategy? Are there times where it's a no-brainer and times when it's less relevant, or is email a part of any good outreach strategy?
I think it's part of any good outreach strategy when it's B2B. So I think when B2B, it's a cornerstone of your strategy. And B2C, maybe less so, because under the new legislation with GDPR, it's dangerous territory to send emails to individuals, and that individuals could be sole traders. So if your business is targeting sole traders like plumbers and carpenters, you're in the GDPR danger zone, So I think it's very much a cornerstone of B2B because the legislation supports it. But on the B2C, it's kind of go there if you dare. Just don't rush into that one because it's wrought with lots of problems. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, fair enough. So let's look at it. Let's assume, for the sake of this, we're going to talk about B2B, and I know that most of our audience is more B2B than B2C anyway, so that's relevant. How do we get it right? What are the basic things you should be thinking about?
But first of all, know your TAM. So really know who you're targeting. Know the decision makers and influencers. It's not just about decision makers, it's about influencers, because rarely does a person part with money in their pocket or their bank account unless the people that are using the tool or the service are confident and believing in it. So it's not enough to say, well, I'm going after the CFO or the CTO. They're too senior in many cases. So sometimes you got to just do 5 or 10 contacts in the email campaign. The second thing is make sure the source of your emails are good, because the problem we often find is like people are selling you email data that hasn't been refreshed in years and the data is significantly out of date.
Yeah.
And then I do feel bad. I had a client ring me up recently and they said that they were working with another vendor. I won't mention any names, no mudslinging today, but the problem they had was that they were using their email sequencing tool. And then they got a call from Microsoft saying we're blacklisting your company. So your CEO's email is going to junk. So the most important piece here in email marketing is know your TAM, know your preferred titles, both decision makers and influencers. Don't reach out to any more than 5 or 10 people in a company at any one time.
Yeah.
Don't blast 100 people in a company. Use an email data source that's refreshed and up to date. And the problem with a lot of email data vendors that sell you data is if they do say it's valid, they can only validate 50% of it. So they're only validating the ones where they can ping the email server. They're not validating them all, and that's where TAMI is unique. Our email bounce rate is about 5%, whereas the other vendors in the market is probably close to 25, 30%.
Right.
Now, okay, so you have your TAM, you have your profile, you have your data source, you trust your data. The second thing you have to do is get your email campaigns working really well. So you can't assume one email does it. You literally have to do a whole sequence of emails. So this is where I would personally say in marketing is on B2B marketing, have 5 or 6 emails done by marketing where they're warming up the market. And then after that, everything that comes in that's warm, hand it to your outreach sales team. Have them work that. But don't leave it just at that, because in reality, even when people don't open your email, so maybe if you're lucky, you might get, we have got up to 40, 50% open rates, right? And then we've also had shit campaigns where we've only got like 12 or 15% open rates. So when you get into the key things to measure on your email, open rate's really important. But the open rate is driven by the subject lines.
Okay,
so you have to look at something like CoSchedule that does this whole subject line validation for you. And it will tell you that 5 or 6 words are great. Don't use certain words, use other words. And it's called CoSchedule. So try use that today. And this will grow your open line up dramatically. Then you need to get into your content. So your content shouldn't be any more than 400 words. Okay, if you start sending out content 600-800 words, you're dead, right? So I had a marketing girl working for me and she loved writing stories after stories and they went on forever. And I don't know about you guys, I have no time. So my attention span is awful. It's about 6 seconds. So you need to have a good image and you need to have good content. But remember, images open up on mobiles, but they don't open up in Outlook. So you have to download pictures. So you need to make your content really strong and you need to make it that the image pops when people open on mobiles, which is where people do it today. The last thing is, who do you send it from? Do you use like MailChimp? Do you use SendGrid? It depends. You need volume. There's no point sending email campaigns out just to 100 companies. If you want to do good email marketing, I'm doing a big campaign on Monday and I'm sending it out to 39,000 companies and I'm sending it out to over 200,000 contacts. Okay. So you have to do this at scale and at volume. And so when you do that, you're really driving your growth, and you don't want to just send it from the marketing person. You might want to send it from the salesperson or the customer success manager, depending upon the content. Because when it's always going out from marketing, we're all auto press the button to delete. But when it comes out from you as a person and they can put a name to that person, they're likely to read it. The one last thing I would say in email marketing, there's a brilliant company in the market called Vidu, VIDU, and they do the most amazing GIFs. And these can all go into your email marketing. And it's a picture of you waving, pointing at a board saying, you know, we can help grow you, do whatever. And basically, it's driving massive engagement. And they're being used all across. They're used extensively by Intercom to scale their growth. And these guys came out of Intercom, launched this service, and businesses are using them all the time for email marketing as well, for content. I hope that helps answer the question.
Cheers, I've got some questions out of that. I tell you, it certainly does, but I want to make sure that I just stop and pick out the little nuggets in there so that people get them. So what you're saying is 5 to 10 people in an organization feels like a good range. So I think that's probably assumption number one, that people are looking for one contact in a company, or assuming that one person would make a decision. And I see that in sales as well, that there's never a one person decision, rarely, certainly in any sort of size of organization. So that's a really good bit. You talked about bounce rate. So TAMI's bounce rate being circa 5%, some people being as high as 25%. Where's the point where you're satisfied? So I'm guessing there's a range. It averages at 5%, but sometimes it might be certain markets, it might be slightly higher, certain markets, it might be slightly lower. Is it that if you're getting an 85, 90%, you should be all right, that you're okay? Or
no,
95% is absolutely where you need to be as a minimum?
For me, for your audience, being at 90% is okay. It's good. For me, 95% or less is where I want to be, right? Because I'm Six Sigma. So I like everything to be as good as it can be. Microsoft and Google, who are like your police people of the internet, they don't want to see you. See, normally what happens with MailChimp and these guys and HubSpot, they start sending you the warrant. So they're like your policemen on the street. They send you the warning message at 10% that you're beginning to breach, or 15% you're beginning to breach. Microsoft and Google, who are like, you know, the SAS, they're coming in and they'll tell you when you start hitting 20, 25%, you're getting blacklisted. You know, and if they know, if you have your email registered with them, they'll give you a call sometimes. But really, my thing to you as an audience is, please don't use a data vendor's email sequencer tool, because they're not the experts in email sending. Therefore, they're not policing the bounce rate because it's their data. Therefore, they can't go and tell you the customer the bounce rate is too high, because then it's admitting that they've screwed up, right? Whereas SendGrid and HubSpot and others and MailChimp, they have a contract with Microsoft to regulate and make sure the email bounce rate isn't too high. Therefore, they're more likely to put all these warning messages in and protect your interest, so your emails don't go to junk. So use experts in the area is what I'm saying.
And Liz, what is you made there may be some IP that you can or can't share here, so you might need to talk around it, but what are the sort of questions you should be asking a vendor to establish whether they're likely to give you data that is going to bounce at 5% or bounce at 20%? How you validate it, what the process is, what technology, that sort of stuff.
So first of all, trust nobody, because they'll all lie. They'll all tell you their emails are up to date and they're all perfect. The best thing you can do is take it for a trial. If you have a data vendor say we don't do trials, walk away. All right? Because they shouldn't be afraid to show their data to you, because that's their product. Okay, so imagine if you're in a clothes store and you ask to try something on, they say, sorry, you can't try it on. I mean, you're not exactly going to buy it very straight away if there's no return. So you need to go onto a platform and trial the data first and put it into an email campaign and test the data out. Only then can you see what the bounce rate is like. So you don't take thousands, you take 100 contacts, send them out over 10 or 15 companies, see what it's like, see what the bounce rate is like, check LinkedIn. And you see, LinkedIn is a problem because a lot of people don't, especially with salespeople, they don't necessarily update LinkedIn to say I've left a company. So you could look up LinkedIn and go, they're still there. So, and then find out when you send the email, it's a hard bounce. So always know the difference between soft bounce and hard bounce. A hard bounce is when the email's not delivered. A soft bounce is when somebody's out of office. So my suggestion is trial the product, send out an email campaign, check your bounce rates, come back to the vendor if it's not good, if it can't satisfy you. If it's very high email bounce rates, walk away.
And if we were just work in layman's terms for a second, for the uneducated person in this market that doesn't understand the process, how are emails validated? So what's the process to go from I've got an email that existed 2 years ago to actually validating it and making sure, barring testing, is there something in the background that allows you to do that?
Yeah, so there's two things you can do. Never Bounce, which is owned by ZoomInfo, for example. What they do is they will send like a little ping to the IP address of the company and just the email server and see, does the email server say, oh, yes, it's good, or no, it's bad? The problem with that is only 50% of emails can be validated that way. So what they do, like the Never Bounces of the world, they'll tell you that the email has a status of accept all. And unfortunately, a lot of your audience might think, and some of the more educated will understand it, but they might say, oh, accept all means I can send an email because they accept all emails. And actually, that's not the case. Accept all means they're not giving you a response at all. And therefore, when you send an email to accept all status, they could all bounce. So we had to get around it. I rang actually the CEO of some of these companies and I said, I don't get your terminology. I'm really sorry. I'm a data geek. I love innovating. But surely your accept all is misleading. And why are you putting that status out? Can't you just say could not validate?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be more helpful? And they said, no, that would look really bad. So then I went, okay, let's make it confusing. So that's why I decided, I came back to my dev guys and said, we got to crack accept all because it's bullshit. You can't say that. And so we found a way of we send about 16, 17 million emails a month for validation of accept all, and at least half of them will bounce. And we've never been registered for spam by Microsoft or Google. Okay, so we've managed to go under the radar, slip past their validation, and we have a reputation rate of over 96%. People are saying we don't get how you do it, so it's part of our secret sauce.
Yeah.
But all I say to your audience, if you see accept all, it doesn't mean the company will accept all emails. It just means the email couldn't be validated. Therefore, don't use it for email marketing.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Brilliant. So, sorry, I thought my microphone was playing up there for a second. So I just want to touch on some of the bits you talked about. So your open rate range was really interesting. And every time I thought of a question, you went and answered it, which was amazing. So you said about 12%, and then you said some of them are 40 or 50%, and subject line obviously plays a really key part in that. What do you see influences the next step? Because I'm guessing your call to action is you want somebody to do something, you want them to click something, you want them to go somewhere.
Oh, I have a tip for you on that.
Oh, go on.
Yeah. So think of your email marketing. It is a call to action, and it shouldn't be a call to action to a demo. It could be a call to action to learn more.
Yeah.
To talk to a person. So would you like to book some time to talk this through with a person? Because we're all scared of booking demos because we know we're going to get a hard sell. But it might be, would you like to have a call with an expert in this area?
Yeah.
Book some time here and we're here to help, Now, it's not to say don't book a demo. If you got a killer product, we do invite people to book a demo. But that's when we're very targeted with our messaging. Now, there's a really great way if you want to get leads. You can use your email marketing in a very powerful way to create brand awareness, to get people talking. We get a lot of referrals off this. But the other way to do it is when you're advertising on LinkedIn, use the lead form. Because in the lead form, you get a huge amount of inbound through the lead form. A lot of people, when they do advertising on LinkedIn, they just send people to their website. That doesn't work. Use the lead form on LinkedIn, because when somebody presses it with a very good ad, you can actually get their details and it comes directly to Salesforce. Lovely.
I think that's a really good piece of advice. Thank you for that. What does good look like? So open rates, I think you said 40 to 50% is what you guys can achieve for certain campaigns.
Typically, we normally always go over 30% on open rate, and our click-through rate can be up over 6%.
Okay.
And that's very high because the market rate can be closer to 1%.
Okay. Yeah.
The only thing I would say is I don't always trust MailChimp stats. So if you're looking at these stats, have a little bit of caution about it, because I've seen stats come in on our campaigns where there's hundreds of people apparently booking demos with us, and then you find out it's not the case, and there's duplicate reporting. So just be careful as a user of these systems. They're very good systems to work, but they're not always 100% accurate, So an open rate over 30%, a click-through rate over 2-3% is pretty good.
Yeah.
If you start getting open rates in the 40s and 50s and click-throughs in the 6 to 7, you're doing amazing.
Okay, good to know. And then my next question is around how many emails in a sequence, how long do you run this for? So is it an ongoing, never ending process? Is there a point at which you say, hey, we're going to leave these people alone for a while? How would you normally approach that as on a campaign by campaign basis?
Well, typically our campaigns, we do the email marketing and we do it over a 2-week period, and we do 5-6 emails in that period.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we love working with our marketing. So if it comes inbound in the 2-week period, it goes into our own sales team. But then we hand it over to our marketing to book demos on the 70 or the 60% that don't open an email.
Gotcha.
And this is where our marketing do the reach out, they book the demos, and then our salespeople get engaged, and then they start to close.
Got you. It's really good to know, because I think that number of emails is it feels like it's a fine balance in so much as you could probably put way too much content in front of people, and I would imagine unsubscribe rates go through the roof. People probably get a bit annoyed and starts to have maybe a negative brand impact versus not enough where they don't, you know, none of us see one email and buy immediately, do we? So you've got to have some consistency over a period of time.
Well,
and would you then leave those people alone and come back to them a few months or campaign later or something?
I put them into a lead nurture campaign after that.
Yeah.
So this would be like once every 2 weeks, you're sending a nugget about the, like, because we specialize on the internet, analyzing businesses on the internet and e-commerce. So we can send out market reports every 2 weeks. So if you've got something that's unique to your business that people would like to learn more about, like, we're all fascinated by how e-commerce is going, you know, and what's happening with Brexit, with exports and stuff like that. And we can capture all these insights on the internet, and we can educate our clients and our prospective clients through all of that data. So we have a big market report going out in 2 weeks on the UK market, and we can share it with your audience free of charge.
Brilliant. That's fantastic to know. I want to ask about data, because obviously that's a key part of your business model. And most people think of data and they think, right, we need to send this to companies who look like X, and they might have 1 or 2 or 3 criteria. One of the things that's always amazed me with the TAMI platform is the amount of things you can know about an organization before you start, and therefore that allows you to do things like segmentation. So actually people that use that technology or this technology, or who do business in that way, or that particular piece of software, whatever it might be. Maybe you could just talk around some of that sort of stuff so that the audience understands the possibilities, or some of the possibilities around that, because I'm guessing then you're able to say, well, actually I've got 10,000 people who look like this, and the messaging might go in this way versus 10,000 people who look like that, and the messaging can be slightly different.
So this is the thing that you might get a problem with. So you could use similar web and put in a company that was a customer and come up with 12 lookalikes.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd say, well, why not go for everybody in the market segment? So if you know that this customer is in retail, that they're doing 10 million a year and they're based in the UK, and my sweet spot is in Liverpool, or my sweet spot is in London, I would love all the fashion companies based in that locality. Why just get 12 that's in the UK? Why don't I get everybody in London? So at least my salespeople can knock on a few doors, have a few nice meals, do a few good sales. So with our platform, I found it important to help salespeople be able to drill down into their target addressable market by the geolocation, the city, the postcode, all the way down into what industry, sub-industry, what technology they're built on. We're specialists in the payments and shipping and logistics industry, because we can help the payments company know if a website is taking payments, with shipping companies if they're shipping product, with logistics if they have a warehouse. So all of this information you can get from their website. That's amazing for me. And that's the difference between maybe us and other people like ZoomInfo and others. A lot of ZoomInfo Cognizant is contact data, and it's very good. But the downside is it doesn't let you drill into your market all the way into, these are all the companies I want to sell to. These are the companies I want my salesperson to reach out to. So the other companies are great. But when you want to scale your business and you want to go into a new territory or new industry or a new country, that's when we can step in and help, because we don't just give you contact data, but we can help you target by technology, by merchant size, all of that. So we can supplement contact data with real rich company insights.
And would you recommend, if you're then going to move that into an email campaign, I'm guessing there's a point at which your messaging can be more relevant, more targeted, because you identify groups, but there's probably a point at which you're trying to overdo it from a segmentation perspective, and you end up with small pools of people really sort of almost working too hard to make it relevant, and then you've got 20 people that meet that criteria and you're trying to write a message specific. Is there a balance in there that you see from your experience around numbers of people that are in each group or each segment?
So literally you don't want to be just doing 200 or 300 companies in a market campaign. You really want to be doing 1,000+ companies and up to 5,000 or 10,000 contacts. Because then it's meaningful. You know, you got to remember you have an open rate, if you're lucky, of 30%. So only 300 are going to open, and then you're 300 companies, and then of that, some of those could be open multiple times by the same person. So your click-through rate comes really important. So your pool is narrowing down for your salespeople to reach. So you don't want to do that to sales. The more is the merrier. So minimum 1,000 companies.
Okay, good to know. And then I think probably final question for me. what do you see happen to things like open rates and click-through rates as that campaign runs? So I'm guessing the first email you'll get a certain open rate. Do you find that by the fifth email it's lower, higher? What does that look like?
It tapers off because your big open rate is at the start. Your second open rate might be 2 or 3% less.
Yeah, okay.
And then it reduces because first of all, with your first open, you're taking people out that have responded through the CTA. So, and then the second open rate, again, those people don't open it again. Some people are already in discussion with you. So it begins to taper off. And eventually by the sixth email, it might be 12 or 15%.
Okay, good to know. That's really good. Because I think that expectation is good. Because what we don't want people thinking is, oh, geez, my open rate's dropping off and I must be doing something wrong. But it sounds like that's very normal.
That's extremely normal.
Okay, good to know. Anything else? Anything else that you would add from an email marketing perspective that you've seen work or things to avoid potentially?
The one to avoid is avoid anybody where you're using a data company's email sequencer for now. Just be careful.
Yeah.
Because you're not in control of your email domain. Yeah. And if they're putting bad data into the email campaign, it's you that pays the price, not the company. So that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow when you paid a lot of money. So just be careful of your email domain. You have to protect it. It's like your website domain. You don't want anybody putting rubbish in your website, but you don't want anybody misusing your email domain. So just work with the top players in the industry is my advice. The second is come up with an email cadence so that you sign it off in advance of every email campaign, and don't leave it all up to marketing to do. Get sales to look at it as well. Because at the end of the day, the sales have to act on the inbound that comes in. It's really nice when marketing and sales sign some of this off together and get a power user in sales to work with marketing. Yeah. It's not everybody in sales. Get a power user that will come along, because when this goes well and marketing have some really nice imagery, the salespeople are the best at shouting it out on social media and starting to put it out there, and they'll start to really blast out the messaging that you're doing in your email marketing. So bringing sales along with marketing is always brilliant when it's done well. And but that means marketing has to listen to sales. It can't just be sales saying, we think it's this image and it's A, B, and C, and marketing write a story. Because, so I think that works really well. And the things don't do is don't write 1,000 words, don't make sure you put one CTA in. Don't put 5 CTAs in or 3 CTAs, call to action. Keep it simple. Don't make it like you're writing a textbook. Make it friendly the way Owen would do it, and don't make it too informal, like, hey man, how are you? If you're talking to businesses, you have to be really respectful. Always use the first name on the email, and always make it, that was the one thing I found, and most important message is, when you talk about your company to a potential client, if you only talk about your company, you're just bragging, right? So who wants to go out for a drink on a night out and just hear the other guy talk all the time? We all like to know what's in it for me. So you got to make that email all about what's in it for them. So you're going to have a great night when you buy the other guy a pint and say, this is what's in it for you and this is how I'm going to help you. People engage when they know that you're not just talking about yourself. So make it about them. And then you'll win, but you won't win if you just brag about yourself.
Great advice, Liz. Love that. Thank you so much. So let's wrap up. Give you the opportunity to say who can you help? Who can TAMI help? Who should be talking to TAMI, and how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so TAMI can help any B2B company in the UK, anybody that are even in Europe. So we do have a lot of European clients. It's anybody that's targeting corporates, limited companies, PLCs, partnerships, charities. We can help anybody in that area. The way to get in touch with us is if you send an email to hello@tami.co.uk, just hello@tami.co.uk, and look up our website, and we'd be delighted to help anybody with either email marketing, cleaning up Salesforce is another specialty of ours. If you're getting a Salesforce implementation, I could talk at length on that, but we can clean up all the data and help them, get their Salesforce up to date and pipelines crystal, really clean this year.
Yeah, and obviously we have first-hand experience, so I can absolutely sing its praises for the difference it's made for our business. Liz, thank you so much. Honestly, so many little nuggets in there of things to do and not to do through email marketing, and I'm sure that our audience will have learned some great things from you. Thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.